Do you want to know how to make the right decisions for you over and over again? That's what we're going to be covering in this video. You already have one of those techniques, and will remind you if you've forgotten it. I'm going to give you a few more. Before we do that though, a quick little note on why little actionable steps are so important when it comes to moving towards our goal, our vision, our giant, outrageous, liberating dream. So much of the time we have this, it's actually a false sense that we need to know exactly what our vision looks like, and we need to have every single step planned out. This has never been the case for me. The things I'm most proud of in my career, if you had asked me 3 years before I had achieved that thing or done that thing and said, hey, Gem, do you know that you're going to be doing this? I'd be like, what the actual? I have never planned that far ahead. What I have done and what I know works is having that big picture vision, even if it's vague, that sense of something that pulls you out of bed in the morning. Taking that and then breaking it down into the tiniest, most actionable steps you can, and only really thinking a few steps in advance. I have tried to play chess by mapping out 12 steps in advance. It always fucks me right over. We cannot think that far in advance because what happens is we tune out what the world throws at us. We remain closed to the serendipities and opportunities and the right people coming to us at the right time. So how I go about it is I will have a vision or a dream that I sit with and I feel into. And then each day I will ask, what action can I take on this vision? And then if I can, I will halve that action and then halve it again. Because if we try to take too big a leap, our fears of what will happen if we fail, what will happen if we succeed, get in the way and we start to sabotage. We start to procrastinate. We start to do our shadow work. If you can just do a few tiny little steps that move you towards that big vision and just spend 5 minutes on it, that is how you make your giant, outrageous, liberating dream a reality. So, how do you know what the right steps are? Few ways. I'll teach you some more decision-making techniques in a tick, but I did want to be really clear that when you are really feeling into your giant, outrageous, liberating dream, your vision, you are picturing yourself doing it while you are in alpha brainwaves. I do this every single morning. When you do this, weird, magical shit happens. So, for instance, I, at one time, really pictured being able to see a monkey while I was in Bali. I hadn't seen one. It was 6 days in. I really pictured it. I forgot about it. I did a round of meditation. 20 minutes into the round of meditation, there was a bit of rustling. I opened my eyes. My villa was surrounded by 50 monkeys. Like, I am not making this up. This happened. I have pictured having a fair and equitable sale to a former business I owned, really feeling into it in alpha brainwaves. As I was doing that, knock on the door, postman arrives with a bank check from my business partner for a really fair amount of money, and a letter releasing me from all restrictions. This happens to me over and over and over again. You get in alpha brainwaves, you feel or picture or imagine that dream happening, and it happens for you. Sadly, it doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes you have to do a bit of work and sit your ass in a chair and do stuff. So while you are also open to magical possibilities coming in from left field, if it is right to take the right steps, you need to know what those small steps are. This is how you go about doing that. It requires a bit of a mindset shift because we have been taught that the thing to do when we're moving towards a goal is to ask ourselves the question, what should I do today to move myself towards this goal? Bollocks to that. That's not how it works. The question we need to ask ourselves is, what do I want to do today to move myself towards this goal? What would actually be a delight for me? And the other question to ask is, what could I do that scares the shit out of me, but also I feel a sense of joy and excitedness about it? If you can, and I'll guide you through this in the journal, but if you can come up with a set of actions that you want to do and that scare the pants off you, but also make you feel expansive and free, and make sure they're things that you can achieve. So, for instance, I have been trying to write a book for 11 years. I'm finally on it. Would you believe it? Using the techniques I'm teaching you. If I said to myself, I'm going to sit down and write a chapter, I would freak out. I would procrastinate. I would self-sabotage. I literally say to myself, you just need to write 200 words. Often I'll keep going, but break that thing that you either want to do or that scares the crap out of you, yet you feel strangely elated by it. Break it down as to a small amount as you can and just do that step. If you want to do another one, go for it. But if you can take those tiny, excited, scared, joyful steps towards your big picture vision, what happens is you take one step and then you somehow know what the next step is. But the final piece of the puzzle is this. Whenever I'm looking at what the next right step might be I'm always tuning into my body to get a yes or a no signal. So I will go, should I do this? And I'll check in with my body. And I use a few techniques. One of them I've already taught you. Remember I taught you the yes and no signs in your body? We went through, you closed your eyes and we went through saying out loud, I love fresh air, and paying attention to your body's signs. And then I love nausea, and paying attention to the different signs that your body gives you. A Martha Beck technique, it works really well, and I hope you've been practicing it. Here are a few more techniques that you can add to your toolbox and see if they work for you. Again, I learned this one from Martha Beck. If you are someone who you have trouble focusing on what's going on inside you, this is a really practical technique for saying yes or no. You're going to rub your thumb and forefinger together, and you're going to say those same things out loud. So you're going to say, I love fresh air. And just see if anything happens. To me, nothing happens. I just keep rubbing them together. Now you're going to say, I love nausea. It's bizarre, it happened. To the words, I love nausea, which of course, they're not true. The pads of my finger and thumb released a tiny amount of sweat to the point where I couldn't keep going. So this is really useful. It's like, do I want spaghetti for dinner tonight? Apparently I don't want spaghetti for dinner tonight. Just practice using that to see if you get a yes or a no with what's the next right step. And ask, do I need to contact the publisher? That's a no, by the way. I don't need to contact the publisher. Do I need to write the next letter in my book? And that's a yes. So practice with the potential little next steps for you to reach your giant, outrageous, liberating dream. I really love this technique. It takes a bit more time, but I find it incredibly meaningful, particularly for the bigger life decisions. But you can absolutely apply it to this small decision of what's the next right step to take. It's another one where we need to ground ourselves, close our eyes if you're willing to, shoulders down, deep breath in. Okay. I want you to think of a decision that you can make today that is relatively innocuous, as in you're not going to get in trouble either way. It's not a particularly emotional decision, and it needs to have two options. So for me, it's coming up to afternoon tea time, and I'm going to have two options as to what I can eat for afternoon tea. You might have, do you want to go for a walk or not go for a walk tonight? I'll leave it up to you. Either way, it's an easy-ish decision with two options. Once you've got that decision in your mind, I'd like you to, in your mind's eye, watch yourself or imagine yourself doing the first option. So you might imagine yourself going for a walk after work. eating biscuits for afternoon tea. Just watch yourself doing it. As you are watching that play out, again, from the neck down, you're going to ask yourself the question, does this feel more like freedom or entrapment? More like joy or drudgery? More like mania or peace? Let that option go, and then bring the next option to your mind's eye and watch or imagine yourself doing or having this option. And as you're imagining this and playing it out, again, ask yourself, does this feel more like joy or drudgery? Does it feel more like freedom or entrapment? Does it feel more like peace or mania? When you're ready, you can open your eyes. You will find that the right decision, even minor ones, always feel some kind of combination of joy, peace, and freedom. And the wrong decision always feels like some combination of entrapment, drudgery, and mania. And I've done this exercise with a lot of groups in the past, and I've had a number of people go, I was going to apply for a promotion that everyone thinks I should apply for, but my body says no. I actually need to be doing something different. So I find this an incredibly useful technique for making decisions and knowing what is right and what is actually the wrong decision for me. And you can apply this to what is the next right step for me to move towards my giant, outrageous, liberating dream. So 3 techniques to make a decision about what the next right step is. You might also want to use them for your gold. Start playing out your gold in your mind's eye and just really tune into what about that feels like joy, peace, freedom. You can do that with it as well. Practice these decision-making techniques on big and small things this week. See how they go, but especially use them when you go to your journal and you start mapping out the first steps towards you moving towards your gold.